Cybertrons and Destrons, start your engines and welcome to episode 17 of the Triple Takeover Toycast, a fortnightly podcast about Transformers and other related toy lines from the 80s, 90s, or maybe even last week. I'm joined as always by my glorious teammates. In pole position is rum-fueled toy photographer and writer Liam from Toybox Soapbox.
Hi, that makes me sound like an alcoholic. Not that I'm drinking one right now or anything, but...
Not like it's a recurring joke or anything.
No.
Alongside him on the grid is a man whose trophies have their own butler and for whom there is no second prize, toy photographer, writer and YouTuber Sixo.
Hello indeed, how are you doing?
And I'm M.A.S. from TFsquareone. The lights are green for a return to 2013 with the Transformers GT Mission GTR toy line from Takara Tomy, and for you, the race is on to grab as many Transformers GT toys as you can before the price curve redlines. Lads, how's it going?
All good, thanks. Not too bad at all. So, yeah.
I'm all good, thanks. Very tired. I don't know if you can hear my dog. She's furiously barking in the background, no matter how many times I press mute.
Yeah, I'm wondering how I'm going to edit that one out. Considering she seems to talk at exactly the same time you do.
She's been in this room this whole time while we were talking in the the build-up, and she's waited till literally you were doing the intro to start barking.
So not only are your toys encroaching on you, but now like various animals and living beings are becoming just part of the massive moving toys that you have across your floor.
It's a menagerie. It's becoming a jungle in here. You know? I've even bought some biscuits. I've bought some Fox's Cream Crunch, the greatest biscuit on earth. Have you never had Fox's Golden Cream Crunch?
No.
You have. You just don't remember.
No, it's probably one of those ones in the selection that I never liked because it was too crunchy.
It's very crunchy. It's in the name, but they're delicious.
I don't like crunchy biscuits.
What? They're like the best ones.
I like them crumbly or sometimes even soft. I don't even mind if they've been left out for a couple of days and they get a little bit softer.
That's because they're out of date. That could possibly poison you. Why are you eating out of date biscuits?
It's not out of date after a day.
I like crunchy biscuits.
Do you get like a selection at Christmas and you're like, wait, you start eating them at Easter? You're like, oh no, there's still one in there.
Yeah. What about me gave away that I like old stuff? What was it that clued you in?
Are you moving into vintage biscuits now? Is that where you are?
Vintage food, yeah.
Biscuits. Again to the biscuits.
I like crunchy biscuits well enough, but I can't imagine that they're going to be entirely welcome on a podcast. But I'm just again imagining Maz with his poor editing and all of that, you know.
Yeah, if he's not gulping rum, it's going to be the rustling of a packet and his crunching that I'm just going to have to mute.
It's not like last week where I thought I'd muted it and it turned out I hadn't.
No, that's a hilarious one where we've got this thing where we record online and we also record locally to make sure we get the best quality. And Liam, of course, had muted online, but we all got to hear him say, "Shut up, Jesse," to his dog.
When did I turn Scottish?
But no, yeah, I'm well, thank you. I'm very good. So I was just thinking about the fact that actually for tonight, this is the first time I think ever that I can legit say that I have the entire toy line that we're talking about on my desk in front of me. So there you go. It's such a small toy line that, apart from one or two little kind of offshooty bits, of course, but I'm sure we'll get to that. But the four main toys all here and represented. So,
and these have been repurchased recently, haven't they? Because you originally bought my set, sold that set, and now you've repurchased.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. It was one of those mad ones that I think, you know, whenever it was, a couple of years ago that I moved them on, I was like, okay, well, you know, I'm going to streamline a little bit and kind of get rid of one or two extraneous bits that maybe don't fit the collection or what have you. And of course, these are sort of real niche stuff, aren't they? They're kind of real, like, of their own thing. They don't really, I mean, maybe with Alternity you could say that they fit, but even then, you know, they're kind of a bit of an offshoot. But yeah, they were just so nice, and I just missed taking pictures of them and just having them, and really love the transformation on them and everything as well. I mean, we'll get into all of that, but I had to have them again, man. So they were fun to acquire as well. So,
and of course, we've pre-enabled Liam into buying one of these as well now.
I know.
This is the enabling success story, isn't it? The one where you did get me. It actually happened.
Well, that and the Micromaster 6 combiners.
Oh, yeah.
So we're looking forward to a special episode on those at some point.
Yeah, and you're still looking at landfills, man. Don't pretend like you're impervious to this stuff. Do you know
Did you ever get a Stormjet?
Oh, you'll never get me. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. What was that about? Yeah, lads, has anyone got a Stormjet on the internet? Do you know, like,
did I buy it? I'm not sure, but I like this idea that you've painted, or this picture, sorry, that I go around looking at landfills now, like I'm just there, like taking photos of.
Yes.
Oh, there's an old Sainsbury's carrier bag floating around there. I remember them.
Should clarify which landfills I'm talking about, I suppose.
So as you might have gathered, our episode today, episode 17, is about Transformers GT Mission GTR. So this was a short toy line that came out in 2013, and we'll get into the details in a minute. But just want to say thank you to our sponsor TF Source for sponsoring us on this episode. And incidentally, every single Transformers GT toy I bought back in the day, I did buy from TF Source. And I reviewed them for TF Source as well. So they were all up there, which is really handy reading for me to get myself back into the headspace for this. Thank you to them for sponsoring the episode. And remember to check them out on tfsource.com for your Transformers and third-party needs. Also, thank you to our patrons, as always. And we'll do a shout-out at the end of the episode. But thank you for everyone for supporting us. And if you do want to support the show, head over to patreon.com/triple takeover, where we've got multiple tiers, everything from apologetic ramps to Sixo's butlers. And the last thing I want to mention before we get into it is also our Redbubble page, which is redbubble.com/people/triple takeover, where you can get all of your triple takeover needs catered for, whether it's coasters, aprons, badges, clocks. Did I mention leggings? So yes, I'm expecting loads of you to have bought the triple takeover leggings by now.
We made one sale the other day. I bought myself a mug.
Well, also, did we not see Andy who'd bought the Sixo's Butler apron, which he showed off?
Yeah, I know. I'm dead excited to see more of that.
I hope he's bought the leggings, and so we don't just see him at TFN in only the apron.
That's what he was
threatening. There are socks as well. There are socks as well. It doesn't have to be leggings. If people are not into leggings, you can get a pair of socks, I think.
And of course, John bought a mug. So there's
Yes.
and Chris. I think Chris bought a mug as well, didn't he?
Yeah, there's a few of them going around now. So I've got to say, I really love my mug. I know I'm obviously a little bit biased, but I absolutely love it. I have a coffee out of it most mornings.
Oh, I
really
thought you were
enjoy
talking
it.
about your face because you post it on Twitter every other day, don't you?
I know. I was talking about my face.
I was going to say triple takeover mugs. I think we've been called that before, haven't we?
Yeah, Indeed. Of course, also worth mentioning that we've done a couple of mini-sodes recently, haven't we? So we've just launched our Generation 2 repaints mini-sode just recently, and before that, one on cassette combiners as well. So, and they're a lot of fun. Really enjoying that, and we've got an ever-growing list of topics for mini-sodes on our top tier of our Patreon as well. Patreon. So yeah, if you haven't checked it out yet, do give that a look because it's a great way to get more content from us. If you're not yet bored of the three of us rambling on about robots every 2 weeks, then you can get additional content on there. We keep saying that they're mini-sodes, don't we? But they have a habit of running on a bit. Actually, like the last one.
Yeah, the last one was an hour.
It was an hour, I know, and they're supposed to be like dead short, like 20-25 minute things.
But we all say they are like the most fun that we do as well, aren't they?
Yeah, they're great. They're really, really good fun. I really enjoy doing them.
And of course, if you do listen to the minisodes, some of the merch we have offered on Redbubble will make a bit more sense, such as those G2 style Omnibots and things like that. And there will be more of that upcoming. So if you don't want to, if you don't want to be left out.
Ooh, FOMO.
I don't think I'm overselling it when I say that I think the G2 Omnibots are the pinnacle of this podcast. It's like, I think that's my favourite moment, and it's like hidden away. So go find it, guys.
So in 2013, Transformers GT Mission GTR was launched by Takara Tomy, and they were 1/32 scale race cars from the Japanese Super GT series, which is in motorsport. It's a world famous touring car series run by Japanese manufacturers, lots of different teams. It's a series that was made really famous by the Gran Turismo game series, in the West at least. That's where a lot of gamers would have become familiar with these type of cars, certain liveries that were used in the toy line. And it was, of course, a really short toy line. And we're going to kind of talk about the toy line a little bit today, about the molds involved, about our experiences with them. I've got quite a bit to say about the fandom reaction to it. And this was something I was reminded of when I was reading the articles on it, about how much resistance and a lack of enthusiasm, shall we say, there was for the line, apart from the people who it really appealed to. And they were extremely enthusiastic about it. So it definitely had a crowd, and that crowd were well into it. And I think every person who gets into TFGT regrets the fact that there weren't more toys in the toy line. But just to start us off, I wanted to read something that was printed on one of the Transformers GT boxes. Because as far as fiction goes, there isn't a lot of it. It was a manga that was featured in Kero Kero Ace magazine from July 2013, if I'm not mistaken. And this kind of puts a little bit of context on the toy line and how it doesn't really fit into all the other fiction that was around at the time. So Super GT, a project for cultural exchange between man and Transformer. From joint research between Autobots and humans were created race car bodies imbued with the power of Transformers. Now the races of Earth team up with Transformers to battle it out on the circuit. So it's not quite the fight for Cybertron, is it?
Yeah, I think my understanding of the fiction, I haven't read the manga, I've got to confess, but my understanding of it in a nutshell is that the Autobots and Decepticons essentially make a pact, if you will. I was going to say truce, but that's probably not quite right. And they decide that they're going to continue their battle through racing instead of fighting. So they basically stop the war and they have a race instead, as, GT cars, because why not? But what I love about it is that in theory, it is in continuity with everything else that comes in Transformers. So like the original G1 cartoon, all of the Japanese exclusive series like Headmasters and Victory and all of that kind of clobber, even stuff like The Return of Convoy, and those story pages and all of that, Binaltech, because ultimately Takara Fiction, actually, they don't have anything really that's non-canonical, so it all falls under one kind of umbrella. So I actually have no idea how they work in GT with everything else and explain it in continuity, but that, I believe, is the kind of overarching idea of it, at least.
I think reading the stuff on the boxes, I'm not even sure how seriously they take that as far as promoting the toys go, because I think they've sort of leaned into the fact that, hey, this is a really special collaboration between Japan's biggest motorsport series and a really popular toy line, and it's a very special collaboration, and we're kind of, we're just having some fun with it, but we are acknowledging all the cool stuff around it. For example, the promotional images for Transformers GT make no bones about the fact that the GT cars, even though they're 1/32 scale and they're remolds of Alternity figures, they actually fit with the current MP10 era Masterpiece scale. And there are pictures of, MP10's trailer very much fitting beautifully with the Transformers GT toys. And like another thing from the box.
Handshakes.
No handshakes. No.
Yeah.
Their arms are too short. But so here's another quote. It's like, let's see. Convoy, Optimus Prime, is the main character from Fight Super Lifeform Transformers, the TV animation series broadcast in 1985. Convoy can transform to a trailer truck. In the toy line Masterpiece, Convoy was remade into a high quality toy for the fans. This GTR Prime fits perfectly into MP Convoy's trailer. This is well worth a try as it will look so like a real racing car and its carrier. So it's very much breaking the fourth wall, taking you out of the immersion of like a manga. It's just telling you, here are some great toys. Go and have some fun with other toys we have.
Yeah, definitely. I love that. I think that's super cool. I mean, I have previously taken a couple of pictures of the GT cars with Masterpiece cars, and they do look really, really good. The Masterpiece cars aren't really to a set scale, so there's a bit of fudging it for sure. But yeah, they do look really neat with MP10 and I would imagine MP44 as well. I haven't checked that specifically, but maybe I will do. But yeah, the MP cars aren't to a set scale. They're kind of all over the place because that's all about robot mode scale. But still, it does work well.
And for anyone unfamiliar with the toy line,
Hello.
Transformers. Oh, is that you?
Yeah.
All right. It's not like you own one or anything, is it? No.
You own a quarter of the toy line.
Yeah. So in case you want to know something about this toy line that you've 25% completed, let me just tell you a little bit about it. Yeah? So Alternity followed Binaltech. So they were smaller scale than Binaltech, 1/32 scale. Highly detailed cars, very accurate, fully licensed. And Transformers GT, Mission GTR, this very, very short line from 2013, took 4 characters and put them in this line. And we had Optimus Prime, or Convoy, and actually on the box it's called Prime, which is interesting for a Japanese release. They had Saber, which is based on Star Saber, the Autobot leader in Victory. We had Fortress Maximus, who was the leader in Headmasters in the Japanese series, and is the Fortress Maximus you'd recognize, and also Megatron. So there's these 4 characters as the main toys, and they were all based on the Nissan GTR Super GT 500 car, which is a bespoke racing car. And this mold existed in Alternity as the road-going Nissan GTR. So they didn't create a brand new mold which was much lower to the ground with super aerodynamic parts. They just used the streetcar mold but added really cool racing parts. And the best part is super accurate race liveries with sponsors and paint everywhere and just incredibly eye-catching toys.
Yeah, that's what drew me into it. And I'm not even a car guy, but it's deliveries. Once you see them, they just look spectacular on these toys. So how did this toy line come about? Like, I can't imagine there's a Takara guy sat around playing Gran Turismo, listening to Feeder or whatever, and goes, I must make this into a toy.
Hey,
That's how does that happen?
Don't be so sure. I mean, Super GT is huge in Japan. There are ex-Formula 1 drivers who go over and drive in Super GT. It's not a small provincial series. It's a big race series in Japan. It's televised. It's got, loads of sponsors, loads of money. And yeah, Gran Turismo popularized loads of these cars. I remember walking into the motorsport collector's shop in central London. It's called Alex Reed. And some dude was there saying, have you finally got it in? Have you finally got me that toy? And the guy behind the counter, he pulled out this beautiful model. It was the same car that's the GT Sabre, the blue one, the Impel Calsonic GTR Skyline. And, these were really famous cars, and then they became really popular through Gran Turismo and motorsport. So they're really recognizable color schemes and sponsors and like cars with legacies and dynasties almost. And so collaborating with the most popular race series in Japan is not out of the question. And think about everything else that Transformers has collaborated with. Bathing Ape, a clothing line.
Yeah, it's true.
Nike.
There you go.
Yeah.
I love Takara for that, though. The fact that they have such weird and wonderful collaborations and things like that. It's really kind of, to us, it seems very unexpected. But as you said, Maz, I think actually, I'm sure for them, it's a lot less unexpected, But point of order, by the way, Gran Turismo, that's a computer game?
I was going to say,
it's a video game.
Yeah. What's the difference?
No, that's just the phraseology, mate. It's a video game.
Oh, okay.
Well, yeah, you don't play it. You don't play it on a computer. You play it on a console. So I guess calling it a computer game would be a little too restrictive.
Okay.
It was originally on PlayStation in 1997, and it's just become this really long, famous flagship title for Sony and PlayStation.
We're about to explain to Sixo what a PlayStation is, aren't we?
No. I'm aware of the name PlayStation. I've never had one. I think I had a go on one once in someone's flat. Many years ago.
I love you so much for this story. It's like the quintessential Sixo moment.
I don't know. I'd had a couple of drinks at the time, so I couldn't tell you what game it was or anything like that.
Well, there's a transforming PlayStation that puts it in your wheelhouse.
I was going to say,
yeah, no, that I'm aware of. So, but if it wasn't on the SNES or maybe the Wii, then I'm unlikely to.
Oh, a Nintendo man. Oh, I like it.
Not specifically. I just happened to have a SNES when I was a kid. And then we got a Wii, but to be fair, we only really had Wii Tennis and a few others. We did have the Mario one, whatever that's called, and Mario Kart we had on the Wii. That was fun. So maybe Gran Turismo is a bit like Mario Kart. I don't know.
I think it's a huge game. It's no exaggeration to say when a new PlayStation is launched, people will look to the Gran Turismo title. It's
so it's
right
like
up
the flagship.
It's a flagship
title.
racing series, yeah.
Okay, just the other day as well, wasn't it? With the
Gran
PlayStation
Turismo
5
7,
reveals,
yeah.
And that's what stole the show, wasn't it? Was the Gran Turismo trailer in there?
I've met the creator
really?
of Gran Turismo. Yeah.
Oh,
I used to work in video games in the UK with Motorsport, and we did a Gran Turismo. I think it was the 15th anniversary event for Gran Turismo, and I met him there, which was awesome. It's really nice. Got a photo with him. So he's a celebrity to me in that respect. So if you had ever graduated from the SNES and the Wii to a PlayStation, and I think nearly anyone who had a PlayStation will know Gran Turismo, and then they would have learned about these Japanese cars, and they would have known about Nissan Skylines. And of course, this toy line is called Mission GTR, and it's because the only cars that are featured are the Nissan GTRs of the series, of which there were only 4 in 2013, and we got them all in Transformers GT.
Mm.
So it's a collaboration with Nissan as well, basically.
So if this had a cartoon, the theme tune would be that song, that one song from Feeder that was on the Gran Turismo soundtrack. That's the only song I remember from that soundtrack as Feeder. And I'm just going to chuck in as many chances as I can to get Feeder references in for the rest of this episode.
I like Feeder. I like the band, and I have a couple of their albums. So there you go. That's my kind of peripheral, knowledge of that. There you go.
I do remember listening to the Gran Turismo soundtrack on a CD player.
Well done, Liam. Well done.
This is going to be his little. This is his
myself.
mission for the evening now. This is what he's going to do.
That's it.
This
I'm
is
out, guys. See you on the next one.
It's just the way he's feeling.
It's just the way he's feeling. You can get in the bin as well. Bloody hell.
Well, that's going to be it now. That's become the mission for the evening. Is to
Tone
get
set.
Yeah, exactly. To get little feeder references in there. I can't even tell you.
Okay, so back in 2013, I remember when this line launched, a lot of people just viewed it as a super expensive set of 4 repaints that had no relevance to their collecting whatsoever. A lot of people will have had no knowledge of the race series and wouldn't have cared, even if they're kind of into this tradition of Transformers having accurate race car liveries like your wheeljacks and your smoke screens and your Jazzes, your Mirages. But these toys were a lot more expensive than Alternity toys. Okay, they were presented beautifully, but there was a lot of negative reaction about them at the time. A lot of people just said, I'm not interested in those. Why are these happening? Did you guys get interested in them at the time, or is it something you've come to in later years?
Definitely in later years for me, definitely. I think actually, Maz, to be fair, it was probably your photos originally that kind of spun me on them. You know, I definitely, I mean, by the time of Alternity, I didn't even get into Alternity back when it was new, you know, from what was it, 2009 to 2012, I guess. And this was 2013. Mm-hmm. So, right. Yeah, no, it wasn't a thing for me really at the time. It was just Masterpiece and that was that. So I might have seen them in pictures, but not really clocked them. And then I think it was reading your article, actually, funnily enough, on TF Source that made me go, oh, these are quite nice. And then when you eventually put your set up for sale, that was when I was like, yeah, I want some of that.
I still don't know what I was thinking. It's one of those JRX moments, like, what was I thinking? And then, of course, you offered them to me when you sold them.
Yeah. I did.
And again, what was I thinking?
Well, I offered to, as I recall, to give them back to you for the same money that I had bought them.
Which today,
from
you'd bite someone's hand off for that, wouldn't you?
I got more for them from selling them on to someone else. Definitely. But yeah, I figured that was fair. I remember at the time you were a bit kind of so-so on letting them go. And one of the things was I said to you was, well, if ever you want them back, you know, let's talk about it or whatever. So,
which was super cool of you, to be honest.
Well, no, it's what makes it for, mate, isn't it? That's that's how it is.
When did you rebuy them?
Just recently, literally since the Vinyl Tech episode. It's a kind of extension of that, really. So
talk about the shockwaves that sent through our collecting, right?
Oh, don't. Honestly, that was like it always reminds me of that bit. I don't know if you watch Community, but there's a bit in it's a fantastic series anyway, but there's a bit in that with the Dean, the character the Dean, where he says, oh, I hope this doesn't awaken anything in me. And I always think of that quote when it comes to that Vinyl Tech episode, because it's just like, it just really kind of set the cat amongst the pigeons. But yeah, no, I picked up a couple of Alternity toys, which continue to go for peanuts. And then actually, it's shocking how cheap they are, really. It's ridiculous. Considering what nice toys they are, I mean, it's kind of a related topic, not to get too far into Alternity, but they are lovely. And then these guys, I don't know, it's just that I got them all separately. So whereas obviously with you, I got the set all in one go. Whereas this time I got them all separately from different sources, Japanese listings and things. And they were not hard to find. It was just a question of, I was going to say being patient, but probably that doesn't really apply considering how quickly I was able to pick them up. But yeah, I was just quite fortuitous that I saw different listings in different places, kind of on the similar timeline, and here they are on the desk.
I had a look today at listings, and I remember when I was looking for the last little bits of the series, stuff like paperwork and giveaways and flyers and things. And there was like 3 to 4 pages of items. Now there's half a page, and I didn't even see all 4 characters. So I saw one loose Saber, about 5 boxed Maximus. I don't know why Fortress Maximus is by far the easiest to find.
Yeah, Maximus is really like he's plentiful actually.
Yeah,
like I saw him popping up, and Megatron to some extent as well.
I saw one
Prime,
Megatron
actually.
Yeah, Convoy is
Convoy. Was
no, actually you're right. It's Prime.
Away.
It is Prime.
It's yeah. I think he's called both, isn't he? But yeah, he was the hardest to find for sure. I actually had to kind of go a bit out of my way for him, but the others, I think it was when Saber just popped up, it was like, okay, let's do this. Do you know what I mean? Let's just kind of get on this, because I felt like I might not see another Saber for that low price again anytime soon. So it just seemed like let's just do it. I want them back. So, and no regrets.
No, it's. I think it's one of those where you get it in hand and you understand what the fuss is about.
It really is. I think there's a lot of those toys that we talk about. I feel like I'm forever talking about toys that really need to be seen in hand to appreciate. Like I say this all the time about stuff like 3.0 products at the moment. You know, you need to see them in hand. I mean, we had, I met up with a friend of ours recently and showed him one of those 3.0 toys, and he was in hand. When I mentioned it to him before, he was like, "Meh." And when he saw it in hand, he was like, yeah, okay, I get it. It's amazing. And I feel like it's very much the same with these. And Alternity to some extent as well, and probably Binaltech, because I think, if you've only ever collected alternators, for example, you might think, what's the big deal with Binaltech? And I think it's when you see them and the paint and everything that you fully appreciate how beautiful they are. But these things are just... I mean, firstly, they're quite small, aren't they? I mean, obviously 1/32 scale, as you said, but even the robot modes are fairly dinky.
That's where it stands apart from Masterpiece. It's like the car modes are the same, but then, robot mode's very different.
Yeah, they really are, and stylistically hugely different as well. And they're definitely, I think, quite stylized robot modes. Like I could imagine that's not going to be to everybody's tastes as well. I think certainly the head designs and stuff, if you're expecting classic versions of these characters.
Oh yeah, we'll come to that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Save that in the bag. But they're lovely toys, and I can't imagine wanting to part ways with them again anytime soon.
And Liam, you've just recently picked up your first one, and I notice I say first one and not only one.
I'm happy with my one.
You cannot just have one of these. Honestly,
No.
There's only 4.
Yeah. Exactly. Get the other 3.
I picked up Fort Max because even though he's the most plentiful one, he was the one I always wanted specifically. He's just got this beautiful paint deco, and I was really surprised because when they were first revealed and came out, I remember seeing them and liking them, but they were just more like a curio than anything else. And I think they hit at a weird time because it's when Masterpiece was taken off. Was it 2014 and
2013?
Yeah, see, it's that time, is it? Because even Generations then is just starting to really take off as Generations, wasn't it? So it's this weird sort of nexus of a point where everything then was really focusing back to G1. So I was sort of rounding.
Alternity was not the hot thing by any stretch at this point, and this was viewed as like Alternity repaints. Yeah,
because in Alternity things they look so different from what they were seen to be doing everywhere else at the time, and it didn't feel like a major line. Like Alternators and Binaltech felt like a main line, where Alternity and then this always felt like a small little thing that was just happening through some deal somewhere that you didn't really quite understand.
Yeah.
But if it was a magazine, they'd be like the very last pages of a magazine, that kind of stuff. It's like, this thing's coming out. Like video games when there's always like this one last game that's coming out and no one ever cares. That's what they were like, even though they looked beautiful. It was just like, oh, they're cool, but all this other stuff's happening, and that's where my focus is right now. And so, at the time, and I always regretted it. That was the worst part, because they look so pretty. But, and I regretted it. And it was only through that episode.
Liam, would you say then that you've come back around to the idea?
I just know he's got a list of feeder songs open somewhere, and he's just looking at opportunities to pop a title into.
Oh yes.
Soon though, Sixo, Maz isn't going to want to talk about it anymore.
His face, honestly, he's going to edit this as well. Honestly,
I'm actually just disappointed I didn't think faster and get my own list of feeder songs open so I could contribute as well. Just going to have to try and fit the word Jaguar in somewhere at some point, aren't I?
It's literally the only one I remember, but I think it's also the only one anyone else remembers. But this toy line, I was so surprised when I finally got it in hand, because it was one of those, where you always are that close to buying it, but you never do. It's like you see it a million times, you go to look for it, and you go, oh, I'm going to buy it now. Then you look and you go, I'll wait or something. And this happened so many times, and it was that episode we did. Was it the Binaltech one? I think that's the one, wasn't it? Where
so that was your trigger as well?
Well, it was you guys sending me links, like 4,000 different links to things. That was the one that finally broke through the deflector shields.
This is not an exaggeration for people listening. We do just bombard him with links like, Liam, check this out.
If you've ever wondered what day-to-day Triple Takeover is like, it's Maz and Sixo sending me links to stuff and going, buy this, things that I really want. Then me going, finding some reason to go, no, or me going, I'll check back in a bit, and it's gone.
I love that we've just, 2 weeks ago dropped the classics episode, and during the episode that people are listening to, Sixo is saying, yeah, this is quite interesting. I don't really know much about it. Cards on the table. I'm just looking at some of these toys. They're quite interesting. No, I probably won't buy any of them. And literally, like, before the episode is dropped, his Twitter is full of, like, here's the whole Henke line.
Like the next day.
Hang on.
Like, link.
Point of order. At no point did I say, I'll never get any of these. That's not what I said. I even said in the episode, I probably will get some of these at some point. I'm quite interested. And I did.
You certainly did.
But again, they're cheap as anything as well, aren't they? They're like absolute peanuts, those classic toys. Honestly, it's incredible. You can get sealed ones for like a tenner almost. It's ridiculous. So why not?
It's funny how this line definitely hasn't gone that way. The Classics was 11 toys. This was the same mold 4 times. But they haven't lost value.
They've held their price really well.
Yeah, they've gotten much more. I bought them for like 55 quid each, I think, at the time. That was shipped. And that felt expensive at the time for what they were. But now, you find them at that price and you need to jump.
Well, that was about what I
did.
got for say before. That was why I was like, I'm not going to see this again for
that's a great price.
That price in some time. Because I think Maximus you can get for about that again, but again Convoy Saber you might struggle with, I think. But you see them going for lots more as well. Like you see some listings for them that are ridiculous, genuinely. I mean, I think they're one of those, aren't they, that probably some sellers take advantage because, if you've got all 4 in hand together, they look kind of nice packaging, Japanese as well. So, some people kind of hike the price up on Japanese stuff. I think, you can definitely overpay for them.
And there is always that element, isn't there, of things that weren't desirable at the time suddenly become much harder to find. And it's always the price of that seems to skyrocket. Because I don't remember these being like, real hot sellers or things that people were desperate to buy.
They weren't. They really weren't.
Because I remember them hanging around for ages. Like, you could pick them up at retail price for a long, long time. And then now it's flipped. But it's always seems to be like that, doesn't it? It's always the thing people didn't want is then infinitely more expensive.
But I can't figure out why people would have now gone back to buy them. Because they didn't really fit with anything beyond Alternity. And I mean, it's not like the line continued the way Generations does, and people maybe want to go back to the start of Generations or Masterpiece, and people want to pick up what qualifies as vintage Masterpiece now or stuff like that. It was very much its own thing, which didn't get such a positive reaction at the time. A few of us thought they were gorgeous, and maybe people have finally got enough money together and just have a space in their collection for them now, had them on their list for years. But I don't really get why they would suddenly have become scarce, because there were so many of them around people weren't buying.
But do you think this is like a thread that we have in this show, I think, where it's like at the time this came out, the G1 stuff was still really building back up, wasn't it? Whereas now it's very different. Like then it was a novelty, still seeing these characters being produced. Now we're so used to it. People are looking for different experience. People have got older as well.
Yeah.
Like people like me, like looking at things we've skipped over for whatever reason. You look at stuff and you'll sample one or another and I think that's what's happening with these. They're an easy thing to look at and be like, wow. And they're such a weird sort of mystery of a thing almost, because they're just so obscure and just really untouched almost.
I totally think there's something in that. I can totally see that. When these were first out, there was a real hunger for more classic Generation 1 stuff, wasn't there? And now that's so oversaturated that it's almost like, I can feel it in myself. There was a point where all I really wanted was stuff in kind of classic G1 Masterpiece style. And now I think I said to you the other day, both of you, that actually, for me, for the time being at least, I'd be happy if the only Masterpiece releases we got were Beast Wars or the MPM stuff, just because I find it a little bit more different, and I'm actually really enjoying collecting stuff like this that is a bit more, is a bit different, is a bit funky, quirky, whatever, just because G1 is so kind of oversaturated now that it's like, I don't know, I think I do see that with a few other people as well, but I also think maybe there's something that, there are people that didn't pick them up at the time, that saw them, maybe thought they were, fun curio, like you said, Liam, but maybe they're just kind of coming back around to reappreciate them all those years later. I don't know.
And new people discovering them as well, like back then I remember I just used to look at your photos, Maz, all of the time, your articles about them, but there weren't that many other ones for a long time. Like even if even when I got this, I went to YouTube to look up, like, just to follow some transformation steps because the instructions were a nightmare. So I thought there are hardly any videos, and the only ones that are there are like filmed in Vaseline cam and it looks like they were filmed in the 70s.
Challenge accepted.
Well, it's about time. I mean, they do qualify as some of the most underdocumented, underappreciated Transformers toys. And I think it's about time we gave them some appreciation. So why don't we talk a little bit about first impressions when you got the first one in hand? Like, what really struck you?
How small they were. I was unprepared for that, but I think it's because in my mind they're so linked to Vinyl Tech and alternators, even though they're not really. But there's so many similarities that they share, like the internals, the realistic car modes, all of that stuff. And so I was really struck by how small they were when it came. I thought, oh wow, it's almost like a deluxe car, sort of that sort of size. So.
Yeah, 124 to 132 doesn't sound like it's going to be such a stark contrast, does it? But it makes all the difference.
Yeah, like even taking photos of the car mode with other toys, like it just was really magnified how small it is. But at the same time, once I got straight past that, it was how stunning they are, because like the liveries are it's something you're so not used to seeing on Transformers, which is strange considering how many cars there are, how many race cars. It's like you think of Vinyl Tech Smokescreen, and that's still the go-to toy to think of with like a racing livery, isn't it? Because the other ones all occasionally have like the odd made-up sponsor, like Masterpiece Smokescreen, for example. But it's not like a real race car. And it's not like with the intricacy of this one, for example, like M.A.S.K, where it's just covered in sponsored decals, and they're so small they're almost unreadable, but they're there, and it's
totally faithfully recreated.
Yeah, and it's
no misspellings. It is the official sponsors, because it's an officially licensed by the race series product.
Yeah, because it's even got like the Yokohama tires, and I was struck by how I was like, oh, Chelsea, in my mind, straight to football. I was like, oh, can I keep it now? Because now I know it's a Chelsea fan. But it was that. It was genuinely like the car mode, and I didn't actually want to turn it into a robot, and that's one of the first times. Like normally I get a car or a toy, and I'm like, wow, that's great, but I can't wait to get into a robot mode. This one I've held off for ages, and I almost didn't want to do it because I thought it's going to be so intricate, and I'm not going to be that keen to go back. But you had to in the end. But yeah, spectacular, just absolutely. I don't know. I was actually more blown away than I expected to be, if that makes sense. And how many times I've talked about these toys and like wanting it, and it being that like, oh, I can't wait, I'm excited to experience it or whatever. But it genuinely was even more wowed than I expected to be, just on looks and how it felt.
Well, I asked Liam to give us his first impression of how amazing they are, and the first thing he said, they're small. So, Sixo, can you do better? Let's sell them.
I think he said a lot of nice things too. But
he's taller, so they're even smaller to him.
That's true. That's true. Big hands, yeah. They are small, definitely. That was, I think, a bit of a thing for me initially as well, just because I'd never experienced Alternity at the time. So it definitely did feel like a total shift from Vinyl Tech, which I was so familiar with. So that is a thing. I think the first thing for me was just, I don't know, again, we've said it earlier, but you see these things in photos, even photos as fantastic as yours, Maz, and there is still nothing that can quite prepare you for how gorgeous they are in hand. Just because some of the details, as you said, Liam, some of the livery, what have you, it's so small. I mean, I'm looking at the convoy now that's on my desk, and on his, they're in robot mode at the moment, but on his chest, you can read Motul, you can read Bridgestone. The Bridgestone one is minuscule. The lettering is absolutely tiny, but it's very, very legible, in my opinion. I mean, you can read all of it. And there's just so much to look at. And I think it's what you said, Liam. That was really my reaction as well, was that they're such nice car modes that you actually don't want to transform them. And that is rare for me as well. I've got to be honest. I love alternate forms on Transformers. I love car modes. But it's very often like a kind of quick acknowledgement, and then let's get this thing into robot mode. Whereas these are some of the toys that actually I almost appreciate them more in car mode than I do in robot mode. They're just that nice. So the paint, everything, but it does happen that I do really enjoy transforming them as well. So that helps.
I think for me, the main thing I noticed, well, first of all, the packaging was real beautiful packaging, really eye catching, stunning, very busy, but very cool. And Liam, you mentioned on a previous episode how them being in car mode from the top kind of reminded you of like a retro video game, which is kind of cool as well. Just kind of plays into the whole GT vibe. For me, when I took it out of the package, it was the smell of the tires the rubber tires, and also the smell of like the model paint that was used to paint them really stands out in my memory. And I don't know if that's something that endures after the toy has been opened and whether it's secondhand or after all these years, but the smells really struck me on those figures. And for you guys who can't see, both Liam and Sixo are now smelling their Transformers GT toys on camera.
A good little sniff there, but I think it's
the magic
dissipated.
tree of Transformers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not surprised it dissipated, honestly.
I think so.
Yeah.
But at the time, that was the first reaction, and I was like, "Oh, this is amazing!" And just before I got high off the smell, I took the toy out. But yeah, the size, if you're not familiar with Alternity, yeah, I think that would have got me as well. But just the presentation of them, and
yes,
being a racing car geek, I was slightly annoyed at the fact that they hadn't remolded these cars to be like the real racing cars, because they are way lower to the ground. Way lower, like noticeably different looking cars. This is like a blocky road car with a kit on, and
so
that
they
is
are
not
different.
what they are. Absolutely different. If you look up a real GT500, your one is Team Kondo. So you look up the Team Kondo GT500 GTR, and it looks like a race car, properly aerodynamic, totally bespoke for the racetrack. It's not an adapted car silhouette. It's bespoke. So that was one thing I was expecting, like, oh, I don't know how into this I'm going to be. But yeah, in hand, sure, it's just Alternity Prime remolded with race car bits, but so wow. So I can understand why I can't imagine what these would have cost if they'd made bespoke molds for them. We would have been into like 3 figures probably. But yeah, it was the presentation and the smells that got me initially.
That's something we haven't actually. I don't think we've ever spoke about that on this podcast, have we? The smells of toys and stuff, because even that is quite a big part of collecting, isn't it? Like when you open like a toy for the first time, there's always that waft of fresh plastic.
Especially G1 car. People were talking about G1 cars back in the late 90s and early 2000s, like with reissues. Like when you'd open a fresh reissue, you'd have that rubber tire smell again. And yeah, obviously that stuff dissipates over time, so you just hear it less and less these days.
Yeah. But that's definitely a thing. It definitely, no matter how much Sixo doesn't believe it.
Absolutely, yeah, no. Smells of toys, definitely.
So let's talk a bit more about the specifics of the toys. And obviously we've said they're not G1, but there are a lot of G1 inspired features on these toys. Even if it's just the color chosen, the main colors of the toys, like, Prime is still very much red and blue. Megatron is silver. Max has a lot of green, dark blue, and kind of red highlights as well. And Sabre is very blue, white, and red, but mostly blue because of the cars chosen. But let's talk a little bit about like the actual features of these toys in terms of what they come with. They all come with a little GT sister minifigure, which we'll come on to later. But one of the things that really impressed me was the accessories being race car themed. Is that something you guys noticed?
Oh, definitely.
I was blown away by Max's sword becoming like the little lift.
The Jack here.
Yeah.
The Master Jack sword, it's called.
Master Jack. Oh, hello, Master Jack.
Yeah.
Like
Never
Richie
thought
Rich.
of that, but just saying it out loud, yeah. That's exactly where my mind went.
The Master Jack sword. Yeah, it does sound a bit funny when you put it that way. That's probably one of the coolest accessories, actually, I think, because Megatron's got like a little, it's like a little fire extinguisher thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's his fire extinguishing fusion cannon.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of cool. And then what is Convoy's? It's not just like
Prime's
a
is a wheel gun. It's a wheel gun.
Right.
So it's for removing wheel nuts on the tires during a pit stop. And remember, they were like advertised with this whole dream pit stop scene. Was one of the things that was mentioned in the paperwork, where you'd have like with each release you'd get another part of the puzzle. So Prime had the wheel gun. You had the gas fill blade with Sabre, which was sort of like a sword you'd use to put petrol in the car. And then you got the Jack with...
you need that in a minute in this country.
Yeah, I was going to... very topical.
Yeah.
And and Megatron's there, quite ironically, with a fusion cannon that's a fire extinguisher to put out the fire in case anything goes wrong. So you could actually set up a full pit stop scene with the figures and the accessories that came with.
So he could have been a legit fire chief. That's what.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think I can imagine there'll be like a lot of fun with having a lot of different accessories with these. It is a real shame that it only ever got to 4
It's true.
toys, your four figures. I mean, it could have run and run and run, but I love the idea of like a little base set up for them with lots of different little accessories. And I mean, it's more your world than mine, Maz. I'm not into racing of that kind really, but or the old what's it called, Gran Turismo or what have you. But it's it'd still be fun to see, and I would go nuts for that from a photography perspective.
It was fun. I remember putting Prime's trailer in a photo and having like one of them roll off, just like you would unload a team truck when it arrives at a race circuit. That was super fun.
Could you imagine like a Prime's trailer that's like a proper team truck? Like the ones where they extend from the side,
nice.
Or even like a little garage or something. Like a Micromaster style base, but for these cars that transforms into like the whole pit lane or whatever. That sort of.
That would be so much fun.
And of course, there was a fifth toy as well, which wasn't in scale with them, but the little safety car, which was kind of what you need for a race scene. But we'll come back to that. What about like features on the toys? Like, what really stood out to you when you looked? Okay, we talked about the car modes and how they were like super accurate and detailed, and the smells. But what about the robot modes? Like, what really stood out to you as robots? Because I'm guessing, I don't know, did you guys experience these before Alternity, or did you already have Alternity toys before these?
Very much before Alternity. For me, the one thing that really stood out was the seats on the arms. Is super cool. So I love the way that the back of the seats fold out into blasters, and that's on their forearms. I think that's really cool, and obviously that's a feature that they all have in common. And then you can fold the blasters away as well. I'm a sucker for anything like that. Like I've always loved the pop-up arm cannons on Optimus Primal's design. So to see it done here, I think is a really neat touch. And considering how small the robot modes are, I think it works exceptionally well. I really love the way that the kind of auto transform happens. It very cool, very weird as well the first time you experience it. And again, having not had I do have it now, but Alternity Convoy previously, I was completely unprepared for it the first time it happened. It's like, what's going on? You just start kind of twisting the bonnet and everything down, and suddenly the whole thing is moving and kind of coming together to form the robot mode kind of abdomen and everything. It's really quite weird, but very, very cool. And I do think, we'll talk about it a bit more detail maybe, but I do love the transformations on these toys. I think it's exceptional. And I really like the way that the heads turn around to form the engines as well. I think that's very cool.
Yeah,
I'd forgotten about the engine thing, actually.
Yeah. The heads, because the heads rotate, don't they? And obviously the back of the head is essentially the top of the engine. And again, I think it's from memory. I'd need to remind myself, but I think it's part of the kind of auto transform that the head kind of pops up as you sort of bend the.
It does.
The chest
that I remember. Yeah. I remember it working really well on my Prime, but not on my Saber. So it wasn't consistent between releases. There was definitely some of the ones I had, the automorph worked really well, and it's like I remember we really had to pinch it to make it work as well. The two halves of the bonnet.
Yeah, it's there was one of mine, I can't remember which, where actually getting the fronts of the cars, the sort of outer sides, to come forward and meet in the middle is a bit more of a faff than on the other three. I can't remember which one it is, but this last time transforming them, I was like, oh, this is significantly more difficult than the others. And the legs are quite difficult to transform. Liam, I know you had a bit of a mare with that, didn't you?
Oh yeah, my 25% of the toy line was a nightmare when it came to legs. like, oh god, like it almost turned me against the toy. I was getting so worked up and wound up because it just, when a toy just doesn't make logical sense to you at all, and you're missing something obvious, but you just cannot like work it out. No matter how many photos I looked at, no matter how many you sent me and stuff. I just kept feeling like I was missing this one crucial thing. And then it went together and I was like,
And so you've never struggled with it since? It was just like once you got it, it's never presented a problem?
No, I've never transformed it back, in fairness, out of terror. But it was, those legs were just...
I think the transformation to car mode is easier, personally. Like, I really love the transformation to car mode. But yes, the transformation to robot mode of the legs is a bit daunting still. Like, I know where everything goes now, but it's because a lot of it is clear plastic, so there are a couple of clear plastic hinges in the legs.
And it's super tight, those clear plastic hinges that don't look like they should bend, and they do.
There's the bit that tabs in that kind of holds all the leg together, and that tab requires a little bit of force, I would say. That's the bit that makes me a little bit nervous. So I think when you know what you're doing and you can apply pressure in the right place and take it really carefully, fine. But yeah, the first time is a bit like, ooh, what's going on here? And as you said, there are no videos or anything online.
No.
So
I mean that was it as well. There's some of these things where they're so tight they snap when they move as well, which is quite jarring, because of how tight they are. So it's like, because there's paint in there as well and stuff, and so when they move, they don't. It's not like they're just tight and you move them like that. There's a definite sort of snapping effect. You know what I mean? Where they don't actually break, but it's got that sort of jarring. You have to put that amount of force, and then when you do it, you're kind of like really shocked by how much it required. And it's not broken, it's fine, but it feels like that, and it kind of sets you up a little bit on edge almost. But I remember like the auto transform in the chest. I didn't know it was there at all, and so when it happened, I was just, my face lit up because I was like, "Whoa!" It was a complete surprise, and it happened as I was transforming it. And I thought I'd broke the toy for a moment because I wasn't prepared. I was just pinching it, and it did it. And I was whoa! But yeah, so that was really cool. But yeah, the legs are still. I keep looking at it going, I really want to get it back to car mode, but I'm not brave enough for it at the moment.
As I say, I totally maintain that the transformation to car mode is more fun. Personally, like I really, really like transforming it. And it's been my experience with Alternity Convoy, and I've got Alternity Black Convoy as well. And I love transforming those toys as well. It's essentially the same thing, obviously. But it's just, I don't know, there's something very satisfying with how the car tabs together. It's actually, I'd go out on a limb and say this, one of the most satisfying transformations I've remembered in recent years, just because everything clicks together perfectly in car mode, literally perfectly. And the I don't know, if you compare that to like recent toys like Earthrise Prowl, for example, it's just night and day, honestly, with or like the Earthrise battle chargers, which just are kind of squishing together and nothing kind of tabs satisfyingly. This is the absolute opposite end of that for me.
Yeah, that's like, that does sometimes feel like a lost art, doesn't it? Like toys that really tab, like you were saying there with the battle chargers, and like, it's just a very unsatisfying experience, those sort of toys, aren't they? When you get them into the car mode and it's just pulling apart and there are bits, and no matter, you spend more time sort of squishing it, hoping it's going to go together, whereas these don't. Like,
yeah. I have a real thing about it. Like I often get into conversation with people online about transformations, because a lot of people have a thing about complicated transformations, and that's going to be a nightmare. And I'm always like, well, I don't think you can really judge until you get it in hand, because complicated transformations for me aren't inherently a nightmare, because I think you can have complicated toys that are still fun to transform because of how they're designed, and they've got that kind of fluidity to them and that grace. And if everything tabs together nicely and slots exactly where it's supposed to when you move stuff, it's not an issue. Whereas actually you can get much more simple toys with simpler conversions, like the battle chargers, that are very, very simple indeed, but no fun, because nothing goes as it's supposed to. Nothing squishes together right. It's all very kind of loose and squidgy and fiddly, and whereas I think these are relatively complex transformers for their size. I think they are complex transformers for their size, but everything tabs together beautifully, and it just glides into place so nice that I think. Do
you find that on all 4 of the ones that you own, and all 8 really, considering the ones you had before?
Going back into car mode, yeah, for sure. Okay. I think yes, the leg transformation into robot mode is a thing for sure. That's a little bit of a bit hair raising at times, but going back into car mode, great fun in my opinion.
But that's just the way they tab together securely as well. It's like, it's so well done, because like when I took it out, it's like, I know it turns into a robot, but like we were saying about in Binaltech and alternators, when you look at them, you can't see all the time, like especially with the way the panel lines on this work. There's a lot of it that just looks like car detailing, and it's like that. And it's I like that, where there's always a little bit of doubt, that so but it sells you on the illusion, if that makes sense. It's like I watch wrestling, and I know wrestling isn't real, but where I really like it, yeah, someone's like, it's real to me, damn it. But where I really like it is where I'm watching it, and the story is good enough that it takes my mind out of it, and I forget that not forget, but I'm like kind of sucked into it enough for there to be an element of doubt. I'm like, are these people really fighting? And it's the same with this. That's one of the things I love about Transformers like this, is that there's this moment where I'm like, does it actually turn into a robot? Because it's so well concealed and hidden, and there's so much thought
I would
into
agree
where
with
those
that.
joins go like that.
Yeah, I would agree with that. The car modes are so nicely done, and you're right. All of the joints and things, the panel seams are really nicely hidden. I think it's expertly done.
Yeah, because too often that sense of illusion is not really prioritized, is it, in toys? Like, it's often a good robot mode or a good car mode or something like that, or sometimes you get both, but it's not. There's no real inkling to sell you that one of them, that the vehicle mode is real, if that makes sense.
Do you think the design of these toys and like Alternity Prime or Convoy in general would need to change at all to work successfully at Binaltech scale of 1/24? Or do you think there's enough complexity in the toy to be completely translatable to a larger toy?
I think for Binaltech it would work fine. That's my opinion. But I think Binaltech varied quite a bit, didn't it, between very simplistic transformations up to some relatively complex ones like Mirage and things like that. I think these are probably, in terms of Binaltech, they're definitely way more complicated than some of the simplest ones. Like I would say Streak or Smokescreen is kind of probably on the simpler end in some respects, but it's not probably as complicated as some of the most complicated Binaltech or Alternator stuff. So I think it would be absolutely fine. I think maybe what you'd get would be, moving hands, whereas these have just got molded hands. If they're a little bit larger, then they'd probably have, some articulation in the hands. Maybe a little bit more ankle tilt would be nice, because they don't have the greatest degree of ankle tilt. But they're made out of the back seats, aren't they? The feet, which is another little cool feature. I really like that as well. But yeah, no, I think especially if they were made now, you would get, obviously not in Binaltech, but if they were made now, you'd get a little bit more articulation out of them, maybe. But even then, it's still pretty good.
I was really surprised by how unlike Binaltech they were. Like, I like visually, like with the cockpits and all that sort of stuff and all the details, it's so similar and in step. But like transforming them, I was surprised by how intricate they were. Compared to like Binaltech, there's a lot of big pieces, moving parts.
Yeah, definitely.
Whereas this has so many little intricate ones.
I think the design of them, the robot mode, looks super different to Binaltech as well. It's kind of, it's got, like Binaltech has got that really kind of classic chunky G1-ness to it, doesn't it? Where it's like the whole bonnet is the chest and things like that. Blocky legs, straight lines, angular. Whereas this does have the bonnet chest, it does have the door wings, but there's almost a kind of, I'm going to say it, but people are not going to like it, but there's almost a kind of movieverse quality to them in some respects. Like the legs, for example, has got that really kind of intricate detailing to it all over the place. There's a lot of like greebles on areas such as the thighs and the shins and the knees. Even in the kind of like svelte nature of the arms and things like that, that it kind of feels like the car bits is kind of like armor that they're wearing somehow. And I think that is very different to the design of Binaltech, which was more kind of classic, if anything.
Yeah, absolutely. And that you mentioned the door wings. That's a great example because the door wings, one of my favorite things was how they slotted back and they sort of, what's the word? Not retract, but they sort of tuck in behind the shoulders if you do it right, and they sort of flick up a little bit. And that is definitely very movie Camaro concept Bumblebee sort of thing to me. Yeah. And a lot less the Binaltech G1 just sort of flap, and there they are as a massive feature that changes the silhouette. These attempted to make the toy more slender. And that's exactly what the chest is doing as well. Like you said, the chest is deliberately slimming down to maintain proportions instead of just sitting there as a massive Nissan GTR chest in robot mode. They did go to those lengths at this smaller scale. So I definitely agree with that. We were talking about the arm blasters. Did you both notice how cool it was that while they're on all four of them, the ones on Maximus completely call back to G1 Maximus with the little double red blaster that comes out of his very dark blue forearms?
Yes, I spotted that. It's a super cool little touch. So I love that Maximus deco anyway, just because it's the most out there of all of them, really. Like even Saber is a bit off the wall, but it's still very recognizable. Maximus is the one that you could be forgiven. You could look at it and think, who is this? Is it, it's what? Because it doesn't, the green and things like that are a bit of a bit left field, aren't they? But little things like that really kind of sell it.
I do wonder, because they only had 4 realistic GTR liveries to choose from in the race series at that class. And the red one was always going to be Optimus. The silver one, I guess, I mean, they really lucked out with what was available that year, because it could very easily have been the year where there was a bright yellow one, because there was a yellow hat Nissan GTR, and that would have been 1 year either side or something, and they didn't pick that one. So they kind of lucked out in what there was. And seeing a white and green one, knowing that they were going to go for really big name characters, yeah, it's a really good choice to have gone with Maximus for that. I agree with that.
Did you say yellow hat?
Yeah, the yellow hat.
What does that mean?
It's just a sponsor. It was a sponsor that was the main sponsor of one of the Nissan teams, and as a result, the car's entire livery was bright yellow.
Ah.
So the red one is the Motul Ortec GTR. That's the prime one, and there's the Calsonic blue one, and the green one is the Team Kondo Advan one, which it says all over it, Advan. So it's just then the sponsor, the title sponsor, gets its name just before the team name.
See, you know me. Mine went to. Do you remember Jennifer Yellow Hat and Billy Blue Hat?
Roger Red Hat.
Straight away,
Roger
I was
Red
thinking, is there a subline of Transformers I've missed? Because I need those.
I never thought Roger Red Hat was going to find its way into this podcast, but there you go.
Should know anything's not really off limits, is it? So, but no, I love Maximus. I think it's a really, as I say, really left field, really kind of unusual one. I can see why it's the one that appealed to you, Liam, just as it being so eye-catching and everything. And I do think it's a cool one to get if you were only to get one, even though you should get all four, really. If you were only to get one, it's a good one to go for just because it's so distinct. But yeah, those little red blasters are a very cool little touch.
The Transformers will return after these messages.
Right, well, it's that part of the episode where we talk about our sponsor. So we're going to do a little segment on that. And as ever, we're going to take a look at tfsource.com, who sponsor the pod. Thank you very much to them. Still sponsoring us after we made all those pipe and bone jokes a couple of episodes back. So you got to hand it to them, don't you? They're really kind of,
they've not flushed us away yet.
So that's good.
I don't see any toilets on the front page this week.
Yeah, no, I don't see it. I'm having a look there now to see what they got in stock, and no toilets there. Sorry, Liam. Have you bought them all?
Yeah. I have a collection of toilets now. I love how we all gone straight there, like straight to the toilet humour.
Yes. I'm sure they're thrilled to be known for that right now. Yeah.
Liam's the one that collects them, so what can you say? But they've got a couple of things in there at the moment that caught my eye, actually. I noticed that they've got those KFC, Apeface and Snapdragon, Kingzilla and King Gorilla. They've done new cartoony versions of them, which is really kind of unprecedented, but they've got those up for pre-order.
Yeah.
Silver turned white.
I know. It's
Wheel invented.
Yeah, I know, it's a bit simplistic, but that's the colour that they realistically should have been to begin with. But it was, kind of during that phase where KFC had a bit of a habit of doing just like weird colours on stuff. It's like they've got a great design, but we'll do it in silver instead of
How
the
long
colour
has it
that you
been?
really want.
Because they've got their hands full of all that chicken, haven't they?
Man, when people make that joke every time, I'm like, okay, yes,
I am the voice
it's a
of our
silly name.
listeners.
Yeah, right. It's been a long time. Yeah, it's been maybe 5 or 6 years, I guess. I don't know.
That's mad.
Maybe I'm exaggerating a little. Maybe 4 years. I don't know. I've not really kept.
Oh,
count,
that's fine.
so.
4 years is fine. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's totally reasonable. 5.
Like last week.
That was where the line was. 5 years. That was, outrageous. But 4, okay, acceptable. They've also got. Have you seen that TFC toys? The repaint of their ST Commander. Have you seen that one? The orange thing.
Yeah,
Do you know what I'm
yeah.
talking about? I think I sent a picture the other day. It's like a. I don't really know what's going on with it, but they've repainted it into orange and red and given it a new funky head. Is that
the one that's called Monkey King Sun Gokong?
That's the one. Yeah,
That's the
one.
So is it related? Well, you said you didn't know. I was just going to say, is it related
I've
to
no
the
idea.
Monkey King story or something like that?
Maybe. What is that? Is that a computer game?
No, it's like a classic Chinese fable, isn't it? Journey to the
is
West.
it? Okay. I honestly don't know.
Did you never watch the TV show Monkey, like as a kid?
No.
I did.
Yeah, see, 'cause you're cool. We are the same person, so the same taste.
No, don't you know? Sixo and I are the same person. That's been established.
Yes, that's the running rumor, isn't it? So it's really just one of us doing voices on the podcast.
I keep wondering why I can't see you both through the metallic sheen on screen.
Oh no, I think all three of us is just one person, just putting on I'd do a little bit of a Nottingham twang every so often.
Your secret northern roots.
Yes, indeed. But yeah, they got some nice stuff. What's catching your eyes at the moment?
I just saw that they have the Generations Sandstorm in stock, and that was something I actually really wanted to get because I used to have that Desert Ramjet prototype.
Yeah, the test shot.
So that's still something I kind of like. And I also noticed the Puffer and Road Ranger.
I was going to comment on that. That's super cool. I cannot believe they've done a Puffer in War for Cybertron.
I still can't.
And called it Puffer.
Yeah.
Called it Puffer as well.
It's mad, isn't it? So absolutely mad. I was really pleased to see that. Oh, we don't really need to go into it, but finally properly unveiled after all the nastiness with the initial reveal, which is just, well, anyway, it's a horrible thing, isn't it? But,
do you know what's funny? They haven't actually announced pipes yet.
have they not?
They're waiting for a second pipe, obviously.
I don't think they've officially revealed pipes. He's been leaked, but
oh, right, okay.
I don't think we've actually seen it. This is the first time we've seen
leaky pipes, you say? Leaky pipes.
Leaky pipes.
It's all about that Ghostwatch pipes. Do you remember him? That's the toy I want.
No, what's Ghostwatch
pipes?
No,
literally no idea what that's about. No,
someone out there is just traumatized now. Now I've mentioned that.
Is it a computer game?
Is it a football team?
Yeah, indeed, yeah. Whole range of topics that I know nothing about.
There are genuinely people now screaming, going, "Oh my god, not Ghostwatch!"
They can scream away. That's fine. So, but this is a sponsor segment, so let's get back to it. What's caught your eye, Liam?
At the moment, I'm quite looking forward to the Studio Series toys. You've seen the Perceptor? Been seeing more things.
Yeah, that looks nice.
Looks amazing.
That looks really good. It's got tank mode as well. So,
I keep seeing pictures. People keep posting of Retgar. Which of course they've got in stock at the moment as well. I think
I've got Retgar. He's great.
That looks incredible. That looks really, really cool.
Yeah. So there's a lot of those. I think that's it at the moment. There's a lot of sort of upcoming Kingdom toys, Slammer stuff like that. I'm not sure if he's up for pre-order yet, but I assume TF Source will have him when he comes out.
Oh, they will do, absolutely. Yeah. I did notice that they've got the Fans Toys Iron Die Bots. Some of them coming back into stock as well, reissues, and that's pretty cool. Yeah.
Stomp was amazing.
That's
Wonderful
a great toy. Really, really good toy.
But they've also got the Soundwave, haven't they, TF Source? Because I saw them advertising it on Twitter, I believe.
Yeah, what, Fans Toys?
Yeah.
Is it a video game?
Yeah. Is it
something on the KFC menu?
Is it Michael Aspel?
No.
Is it a feeder song?
Yeah.
All of the above.
But,
well, that's going to do it for our TF Source sponsor segment, I'm sure. Very professional as always. Ultra slick on the old pod. I don't know, man. What can I say? Every
brought to you by Sixo,
that...
aka M.A.S.K, aka Toybox Soapbox.
Yeah, indeed.
And Michael Aspel.
Every time we do one of these, I end up thinking that it might be the last one. So let's have to tune in next time and see.
Did you say Michael Aspel? I know what you're talking about now.
Oh, here we go.
Click. Sorry.
Now you're going to have nightmares.
Anyway, this has been our TFL sponsor segment, so we'll wrap that up there. Hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you very much to them for sponsoring this lunacy. It's really very kind of them. And do check them out, tfsource.com, as we keep saying, they've got you covered for all your Transformers and third-party needs, and some older stuff as well. It's where M.A.S.K bought all his GT toys after all, and they do some old stuff as well. So yeah, do check them out, tfsource.com.
Although now I'm thinking, is it Parkinson?
We now return to the Transformers.
And let's talk head sculpts.
Well, they're unusual, aren't they? As I said, they're. I think my first one that I remember seeing was Convoy, and I wasn't quite prepared for the little kind of shield that he's got over the top of his head.
The visor. Helmet visor, basically.
What's going on there? Do you know what I mean? And it's the fact that it can't move as well, so it's just kind of like plonked on top of his head. And then they've all got little
mics.
Little
mouthpiece,
kind of Madonna mouthpiece mics. Don't they?
I love that. So GT can phone home.
Yeah.
We shouldn't have recorded on a night where I have to come back from college. This is me now, just like.
But didn't you love that about how race themed it was? All right, let's give Sixo a chance to enjoy this.
That got me, man. I don't know what to tell you. That got me. Well done.
That needs to be a piece of merch. GT phone home, and then just a picture of the head sculpt.
That's inspired. Well done.
Excellent. But wasn't that cool though that they had the mouthpiece for the pit to car radio, and then like the head sculpt was like a helmet with the visor. It was the proper bought into the race theme here.
They really leaned into it, which I admire. I think I'm not going to lie, the first time I saw the Convoy head sculpt, I was like, okay, that's going to take a minute to get used to. I think the one I fell in love with immediately was Saber, which I think is super cool head sculpt. Really nice because it's quite clear what it's meant to be. Quite weird that it's Saber, not Star Saber, but it's got Star Saber's head. So that's a bit of a weird one. Because who is it? I can't remember. Someone recently was really. It was during all the chatter about the new HasLab Star Saber, Victory Saber, and I made a point about because they were saying we've never done any Japanese toys before, and it's like you have though, haven't you? Really, like you've done a lot. Let's be fair, you've done a lot over the years. It's not even anyway, that's a whole thing. But I was pointing out that there have been some other Star Saber toys. Not to do with that, but just as a separate point, and mentioned the GT one, and someone was very quick to point out to me that it was supposed to be Saber, not Star Saber. I was like, well, firstly, they're the same guy, but let's put that in the bin for a second.
Somebody's read too much of the TF wiki again.
Yeah, I know, right? It's like such a pointless. It's like one of these. I don't know. It's the whole kind of like Jinrai-splaining thing again, isn't it? It's
Correctile dysfunction.
Yes, indeed.
That's a T-shirt with Pele.
You've been waiting to get that one in.
Not cool. Too soon.
Brilliant.
That's the Halloween episode.
Yeah. But it's the fact that it's got Star Saber's head sculpt, but it is specifically meant to be Saber, the smaller robot. So that's just always a bit of a weird one for me. But I really love that head sculpt. I think it's super cool. The Maximus one doesn't look a lot like Fortress Maximus necessarily, but it's kind of got enough of a queue in there.
I think it does. I think it's bang on almost. It's definitely the vibe. It's like we talked about Alternator's Mirage definitely not being accurate to original G1 Mirage, but the character was there.
Sure. Yes, I would agree with that. The character's there. It's evocative. Yes, it's evocative. It's not spot on, but yes, it's got the right shape. It's got the eyes. It's got the little kind of thing, the mouth. So there's enough there for you to go, okay. But I don't know if I just looked at it without you saying to me, this is who it is. If I just looked at it, I don't know if I would get that it was Maximus. But it's still pretty cool. But Megatron's a nice one as well. I think it's really Convoy for me. That just took a minute, but I do like it now.
Yeah, I think that's my favourite one of the lot as well, is the Optimus one, because it's, you're so used to seeing that same G1 Optimus head sculpt in very slightly different ways, but this one's, it looks quite different. It's got the hallmarks, but without being that similar, if that makes sense. And it's nice seeing that in a different sense. Because you forget sometimes how sort of like Japanese robot-y the Optimus Prime face is. Like, you know what I mean? Like when you see it in like a slightly different context.
Yeah, I think, isn't that really nicely reflected in the new Takara Tomy Diaclone Battle Convoy VMAX? That point is really nicely reflected in how Japanese super robot like it looks, even though it's Prime's head. It's the origin of Prime's head. But I really like Megatron's head sculpt. I think they absolutely nailed that. Yeah. And all of the head sculpts have a very distinct Transformers GT identity, just to make it stand out. And everything about this toy line makes it stand out. Yeah, it's just Alternity Prime remolded 4 times the same way with different colors, and it's almost super unimaginative, but then everything they've added to these toys makes them imaginative. Every opportunity they had to make it stand out, they took.
I completely agree with that, because it's not like, just looking at them now, all 4 of them, even the paint, very often when you get repaints and things like that, the paint is applied in the same places, just in different colours. So it's like the same paint scheme, if you like, but just, it's like where in one toy it would be blue, here it's red, but the actual paint layout is the same. That's not the case with these. So, I mean, you already mentioned about Maximus's guns being different, whereas actually on the other 3, they're... Is it the Megatron as well? Yeah, on the other 3, they're the same colour, the guns to the seats. But, just looking at it now, like on Saber, for example, he's got little yellow highlights on his knees, whereas the others... actually, Megatron has red highlights on his knees, but the Maximus and Convoy don't have that. On Saber, he's got little bits on his crotch area are painted, whereas the others, again, I think Maximus has it, but Convoy doesn't. So it varies, each one, differently. Saber has painted kind of toes, if you like, because the seats are two-tone. That's the only one that does it there. So again, these are just examples off the top of my head, but there are numerous things like that across the 4 that are inconsistent. And I think that's super cool. And then, of course, there's the livery, which, really makes them stand out. But I just think, there was a lot of, just an incredible amount of attention to detail with all
Agreed.
4 of these. That, yes, although it's the same toy essentially 4 times over, and it's a previous mold, at no point am I sitting there going, ugh, this is a bit boring.
That's one of the most striking things about these toys is, to quote a hero of mine, they don't ever feel like they spared any expense, do they? Like, everywhere you look with the deco, like the paint, it's
Yes.
everywhere it is, you feel like it's there for a purpose. It doesn't feel like you're looking at it going, they've taken that off, or they've removed something that should be there. Like, I get that a lot with Generation toys. If you look at something and you can see something should have been there, but it isn't, and you can see where they've skipped it for budgetary reasons. But here, no matter where you look, everything feels purposeful and deliberate. It doesn't feel like anything's been left off. And even if it was, you wouldn't notice because there is just so much going on.
Yeah, they've almost got that kind of that sort of hand painted quality to them. That attention to detail. Like if you said to someone, "Can you customize this for me?" This is the kind of level that you would imagine you might get back.
Yeah, it's definitely a model kit level detail on that.
Yeah.
And I mean, you mentioned them there, but got to reiterate, how cool are seat guns on their own?
Yeah.
Seat guns and seat feet and visor helmets with mouthpieces, and it's hard to remember that all of these toys, these 4, were not released at the same time. They were staggered. So I think the last one came out in September. Maximus came out in September of 2013. So it wasn't like, here we go, here's all 4 of them. It's just another paint job on each one, nothing to wait for. It's just formulaic, because they weren't formulaic. The only thing they had in common was the base mold, which also, we should mention, had a really nice die-cast skeleton, in there somewhere. There's a lot of premium. I mean, these came out at the same time of Masterpiece. Masterpiece were like, no more rubber tires at this point, no more die-cast. Compare MP12 Sideswipe, which came out around the same time as these, and it's a different thing. It's a completely different thing.
But it's amazing, like, that in itself is, I know we talked about how, like, the fandom reacted and stuff earlier, but it's amazing how the perspective on that, when you look at everything these toys have, like you're saying, they're die-cast, all this paint, all this effort and stuff, but at that time, everyone was looking at them going, they're not like Masterpiece, it's not what I'm interested in.
They were never going to spend the money on this when Masterpiece was kicking out G1 cars and everyone suddenly thought, right, we're going to get everybody.
But that's what I mean, like you've hit the nail on the head there. That's very much the perspective on those toys is we're getting everybody and we're getting the characters. It's not these toys are better or these toys have more features or anything like that. It's very much focused on, and I mean, this is something we talked about loads on this podcast, but it's very much focused on just the characters, isn't it? It's getting those G1 characters, regardless of whether superior toys exist here or whatever. Like, it's all subjective or whatever, but it's so obvious here because these toys just came out with like barely a whimper, like to most people, and it was very much easy to just dismiss them. Like even on my side, I remember like a lot of the reason I didn't bother with them was because I was so focused on Masterpiece and stuff. It's like, it's not what I'm into at the minute, but that really is that perspective in a nutshell is right there.
It super is. I think the fact that, 2 of them, well, certainly at least one of them is a character that most people don't really identify with as well. That they don't really, I mean, maybe a bit more now with HasLab, but, even then. And I think it's very telling. And I think you're right, Liam, that there's this thing now, isn't there, or there always has been maybe about completing a roster and wanting to see certain characters represented. And I kind of feel like there's I've been guilty of it in the past as well, so it's not a critique at all, but there is a bit of a thing with Transformers collecting where it's almost like people want a more complete shelf of toys, even if they were, at the risk of saying it, worse toys or not as nice toys. Like they would rather have that than they would like these 4 exceptionally painted, super cool, really nicely produced, excellently, fun Transformers that they just kind of can't see a purpose for. I don't know. It's a weird one, but I can, even knowing how great these toys are, it doesn't surprise me in a way that it's like hard to convince people to go in on them because it's not what a lot of people are ultimately looking for, I guess, is it? From their collection.
And if someone wanted a niche version, a niche character, like, oh wow, here is a Star Saber in a toy line. Well, they got that in Masterpiece shortly afterwards anyway.
Yeah.
So it didn't even have that going for it in the eyes of the collecting public, really.
I think you've really just got to kind of commit to the bit with this. I think you've really got to kind of not, put a lot of what you normally maybe look for in a toy line out of the window, and just kind of go at it with like, these are 4 super cool toys, really nice, the standalone thing. Don't care about fiction, don't care about characters, don't care about any of that. Just 4 ultra nice transforming toy robots.
Yeah, look what Transformers can do when they set their mind to this.
Yeah.
And it's one of those toys. Like, if MP1 had been the only masterpiece we'd gotten, that would have been another example of, look what we can produce officially when we put our mind to it. And then you can appreciate it on that level.
That's it. It's all about having those different shades, isn't it, of the toy line? It's always, there's something for everybody, but it's about what they can do. And, like you say, when they put their mind to it, but it's just having completely different things that you can look at across like a whole scope or a range of things and just go, wow, this is just so varied. Like, it's not all just one refining one design. There's so many different styles of toys, so many different approaches to different characters and all stuff like that. And it's how you get like the best stuff, isn't it? Is when they try different things. Like,
how luxurious do those toys feel in hand now compared to a majority of toys that we get now? I mean,
oh man,
super
it's
luxurious.
Night and day. Again, if I was to compare it to something like, Earthrise Prowl, or I know I keep mentioning Earthrise Prowl, but that as an example, it's just no competition. There's no, but they're not the same thing. Ultimately, they're not produced for the same audience. So, maybe it's an unfair comparison. But as you said, even versus the masterpiece cars, there's an element to which, there's no rubber tires on those guys, no die cast typically. These feel more luxurious as a result, with the paint schemes and the livery and everything as well. It's just no competition.
I think that's a lot of it though as well, isn't it? It's, at the end of the day, they're not really comparable, even though we do compare them, but they're not really, are they? They're just completely different things of that stand on their own merits. And it's the same with Masterpiece. Everything has its own merits, regardless of how much we try and refine that down to which one looks the most accurate to something else. And yeah, I think it's kind of a shame these toys get lost in that, don't they?
I think it's all a result of people, and again, we do it, so I'm not critiquing, but there's a kind of need to compare everything, isn't there? To say, well, which version's best and whatever else. And I don't know, the older I get and the more different toys I see from over the years, I'm really kind of coming around to this thing of there's no real need to compare a lot of the time. Like, it doesn't really matter definitively which toy is best. Yeah. The point is that you can have 2 versions of the same character that are completely different and they're both great, and that's fine. Even with stuff that's fairly similar, even in like the realm of Masterpiece, third party, where you now get like 5 different versions of the same character or whatever, I still don't really feel this need to definitively say this one is better than this one, a lot of the time, because I'm like, you can have 2 different toys, if they both do different things well, that's kind of enough for me. Ultimately, yes, you probably want to decide which one you're going to keep or not, but with this, you don't even have that. They can just exist as a little separate offshoot thing, their own kind of cool little niche in your collection, and it's just fantastic.
Very much in the tradition of Japanese race queens, another thing that makes these quite unique and maybe separate from a lot of other Transformers are the GT sisters that they come packaged with. Small Microman style girls who have a much more wholesome relationship with the robots than, say, was intimated in something like Kiss Players, but very much still, I think, a source of some controversy. But I don't remember there being a huge controversy storm around the figure, because obviously they're quite scantily dressed, which was it's been quite a while since grid girls have been a thing in something like Formula One, so they, been phased out mercifully. But this is still very much of that sort of era and that aesthetic and that tradition of racing teams having, models and race queens, as they were called. And of course, each one came with a race queen, which they were in constant contact with during races, and they would be advised, and they had their own little personalities as well that were detailed in the paperwork. So how did you guys find the inclusion of these figures? Did you interact with them much?
100% stayed in the box on both occasions, I can tell you. I think, the first time round I did look at them and just kind of go, well, what's this about? But, I mean, they come with little extra hands and things like that, don't they? Never used any of that. That all just stayed in the bag. Just not really my my jam at the end of the day. And since re-getting them, all four of them, they haven't even come out of the clamshell. Those little ladies. So it's just not my thing.
No, I was. I'd never experienced them obviously until I got this one, so I took it out of the box. But I was surprised by how much articulation they have. Like,
Yep.
Yeah.
It went straight back in the box. But it's funny because we were talking about how the cars are very much Gran Turismo, but the Grid Lady is very Ridge Racer, isn't it? That's
I guess so. Yeah.
Because that for years, like that was like the Ridge Racer thing, wasn't it? Like Ridge Racer Type 4 and stuff was always the Grid Lady, and that was one of its hooks on the PlayStation.
But I mean, teams do have race queens.
Yeah,
very much so. I mean, there is actually there was a Super GT team around the same time called Team Mark, and they had Transformers livery. And I remember them posting photos of their race queens in like team clothes, and obviously it had like Transformers hats and stuff like that. So that was some publicity that was doing the rounds at the time of Transformers GT, which was really interesting, but obviously doesn't really resonate with Western culture racing as much anymore. So that was interesting. I actually took all those figures out because I felt when I was doing the original reviews for TF Source and my own blog that I wanted to cover everything. And so I took the figures and I posed them with the cars, tried to put them in the cars. And I think actually I got it wrong in the Binaltech episode. You didn't need to remove the legs on the Binaltech Asterisk figures, but you do need to remove these legs, I think, to get the figures to sit in the cars, which is weird. I think so. I think I read that last night. But also, they were extraordinarily hard to get them to stand. And especially the one called Hero, who comes with Maximus, because of the boots that she's got on.
I was going to say, the shoes are
difficult. Yeah,
very,
it's really tricky. So trying to get like a shot of all four of them together with the robots, or even do that dream pit stop scene where they're all like working on a different part of the car, was a lot more difficult than I looked. It took ages to set up. I think one group shot took me an hour to set up. I remember that distinctly. Oof. Yeah, they were really, really unstable.
I get what you mean, though, about wanting that kind of completeness in your photos and everything. But you know what's funny is that I had that just this week. I posted a picture of, so I was doing a bit of a write-up on Binaltech Black Convoy, and I posted a picture of KISS players, Optimus or Convoy, with the figure on the shoulder. with the Binaltech one. Yes, and I put the little minifigure in there purely because I was like, well, I've got the surfboard in there, I've got the gun, this is all the accessories it comes with, and it was specifically to show the differences between the KISS Players release and the Binaltech Convoy release. And I got a couple of comments about it, typical kind of KISS Player stuff, which is fair game. But I got one that said something about that they were really disappointed that I was focusing on the little anime girls or whatever, and I was like, that's literally not what I was trying to do at all. I was just like literally trying to showcase that these are the two toys and this is what you get. Do you know what I mean? As it happens, I don't care for the little anime girls much either, but that's, by the by. And, but I think that probably with these GT releases, I would imagine, I know it's certainly true of me, that I probably looked at them with slightly suspicious eyes on the back of KISS Players. It's almost like that kind of little inclusion of that model was actually fairly innocent initially with asterisks, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Those three examples were fairly kind of innocuous, and then KISS Players really kind of did a bit of a number on the reputation for those little kind of minifigures. And I would imagine, as I say, certainly with me, I think, you're kind of a bit clouded, aren't you, when it comes to that thing now?
Yeah, and actually I think I'm mistaken in saying that it's so distinctly Eastern culture, because actually now that I think about it, I went to a European GT race at Silverstone in 2011 or 2012, and all of the individual race teams had girls dressed up in the team livery in exactly that type of clothing, in order to stand out and in order to attract customers there and for photographs and all that kind of stuff. They actually had that around the time of the release of Transformers GT. So back then it was still very much a global thing in motorsport. So it's actually not fair for me to say it was just focused in Japan and that was a cultural thing there. It was a motorsport thing.
It's a very American thing as well, isn't it? Having you see that 100%. Sort of NASCAR stuff where they always have women and stuff. You say that, like old wrestling and boxing and stuff like that, wasn't it? Like in the 90s.
Even MotoGP. goes all around Europe. Very, very popular sport. You know, it wasn't that long ago that they were abandoned. So it was nearly all forms of motorsport. So it was not like region specific. So I can understand why they included it. It was for the sake of completeness, and maybe it's not viewed the same way. So it's very different to KISS players, and I think it needs to be established that was not the reason that these were included. It's a distinction that needs to be made in defense of these toys, I think.
Yeah, I found it very uncomfortable still. I don't know, it just felt a little bit creepy and weird. But there's so much articulation's gone into them. They've put a lot of work into... Are they based on anything? Is it like Microman or something like that?
Microman style figures, yeah.
Yeah. I've never compared them, but I only have one little Microman figure, I think. No, I've got a couple actually. But
from Magnificus, you should have one with your Magnificus.
I've got the one with
too,
Magnificus, yeah, but I've got a couple of others with what's it called? With the Action Master Prime Microman repaint that I've
present.
got. Yeah, indeed. So I've got those as well. But I think that the actual Microman figures might be a little bit bigger, but they're very much of the same style.
And one other toy that there were two other toys that were released in Super GT under that banner. I'll tell a lie, 3 other toys, actually. And all 3 of them pretty difficult to find. The first one was the Legends class figure, which was called Safety Prime. So it was like the safety car that comes out and starts the race or slows the cars down if there's been an accident, in a completely different scale to the main toys. Obviously, it's this tiny little Legends class Prowl figure that they painted up. And this was given out to kids on grid walks or pit lane walks during race days of the Super GT race series. And when these first came out, I had an eye out for these because I knew this would be a tricky one to get. And they were everywhere for about 2 weeks on Japanese sites. And then that was it. And then they started to escalate in price, £40, £50, £60.
Oh, wow.
And I think you can still get them today if you keep an eye out, but way more scarce today. And I can understand how people who went and bought the cars, the main cars, would have had zero interest in this. But I wanted to complete this line as the first ever line I completed. And it was the first ever line I completed toy-wise.
This does not surprise me that you are desperate to complete it.
And then they released more stuff after I'd sold my my set. But did any of you guys get the Safety Prime or have ever looked into it?
I have seen it pop up, I think once on a listing, but no interest in it, to be honest. Like it's a fun thing for sure, but I don't know, if I saw it going for an absolute song, then maybe, I don't know, just for completeness sake. But even then, I'm not, I'm not worried about completeness with this. So it's a fun curio. But yeah, I remember seeing your pictures of it and being kind of a bit intrigued by it. But beyond
I was dead pleased to get it. It felt like an achievement, but it brings nothing to the Super Transformers GT toys.
Yeah,
it brings nothing to the GTR toys.
I think I had the mold as Blue Streak. Was it the Generations, the Asian ones they did? I think that's what they were called. Was it like the Generations Asian exclusives? I think that's what they were. Did like a laser beak from one of the movie toys, and there was a couple of really like little strange repaints, and one of them was I think Silver Streak, but it's the cartoon Blue Streak deco, and I think it's on that same Legends class Prowl mold. That was lovely.
I don't know. It's a nice toy. It's a fun Legends class toy, but I don't know about its subsequent releases. Then they also had like a 132 scale model collector's car, which was non-transforming, and that was the one with the Transformers livery. So it was just a direct model car of the GT300 Team Mark GTR. Never got that either. Still quite available. I still see it quite regularly.
We saw it pop up recently, didn't we, in a listing somewhere? I can't remember where, but I remember we were talking about it at the time. Yeah. Is that die-cast model as well?
I'm not sure it's die-cast. It might be resin. But then again, it could be die-cast. Because of the scale and the price, I wouldn't be surprised if it was die-cast. But then I'd want to know for sure it was exactly the same scale as the actual transforming GT ones. Then I'd be super tempted to have it.
I wonder, if it looked as nice as the other cars and you line them up and all 5 of them were consistent, that would be tempting. That would be tempting for sure.
But I have a feeling that model cars do not... Their typical scales are like 118 scale and then 134 scale. So I'm not sure it's perfectly in scale with the cars. And then they did a Q Transformers one of that car.
Ah, they did, didn't they?
That's one I never got either. Yeah, but in the colours of the Team Mark.
Yes, yeah. I'd forgotten that one.
I think everyone forgets about it. I'd completely forgotten about it. And that's why I guess I never did have a complete collection of Transformers GTR or
that was okay, yeah, right. How funny. I had completely, it escaped my attention for a little while there that was a thing. I remember seeing it. But
Did either of you collect QTF?
No.
I had some of them. I've got Ultra Magnus on my desk at work. The little QTF Ultra Magnus, and I think there was a Hound as well. So
I have the RC still. Really, really good toys. Really lovely little toys.
They're amazing.
I think I'd really love to have the Transformers GT one. Actually, it'd probably look amazing.
Yeah, because I pick up the Magnus one off my desk constantly and transform it because it's at work in front of my computer, and I wish I had the Sideswipe, whereas it's the Lamborghini.
Yeah, it's really nice. It's really, really nice. They are made to be deskbots. Exactly.
And more toys that are really underappreciated, and they're fantastic, absolutely fantastic little toys.
So I've got one more question before we wrap up on Transformers GT, and that would be if you could choose one more character to be represented in the Transformers GT line, who would you pick?
It's a real toughie. Does it have to? I mean, can we pick anyone, or does it have to kind of fit the theme of leaders that they've got going on already?
Well, I guess it'd end up being a Nissan GTR anyway. And I think not really leaders. Just think about someone who you think would benefit from having the little nice details, the little nods and winks with the cool racing helmet, head sculpt, and like Max has got his flip out forearms. Would anyone else actually fit into the line? I mean, I wouldn't have thought Megatron would, but they did a great job on him.
Yeah, I kind of, in a funny way, want to say, I was going to say someone then, but I'm trying to think of colours and stuff as well. I mean, I'm not familiar with the real world colour schemes, so
right.
That would obviously be a consideration as well, wouldn't it? Because presumably you'd have to try and marry the real world colour scheme with an appropriate Transformer. But I was going to say Soundwave. I just thought that could be kind of fun to have a little accompaniment for Megatron there. But he'd be blue, wouldn't he, alongside old Saber? So maybe that would be a little bit, I don't know. Maybe that wouldn't be so good. But he could be kind of fun. Or even, Blue Streak as well from his alternators, Vinyl Tech, release. That could be interesting to see.
See, I'm thinking now, as we talked about earlier, like Billy Blue Hat. I'm like, get them in there. Roger Red Hat. But I don't know, probably what about Jetfire? I think Jetfire's head, like a real toy style head. And you can imagine that sort of with, I know they have to have the real life deco, but could you imagine like a sort of Valkyrie style one with a race car livery, or Diatlas? Because I feel like they've got to be these kind of sort of
big leaders,
kind of leaders, isn't it? Yeah,
Diatlas would be a cool shout. That's a good
Didn't
one,
we get Diatlas as part of Alternity?
Yes, there was one. Yeah, there was. Yeah, God, I've never seen it in hand.
Man, they squeezed the Banzaitron out of that line.
Oh man, I have to have that Banzaitron at some point.
It's really
absolutely
lovely.
Have to have it. It's on the list.
I know that there's a yellow livery version of these teams from a previous year, really all yellow. So, I mean, if you're going to go for a yellow racing car, I mean, who's it going to be?
Well, Bumblebee, presumably.
Hubcap.
That's triple takeover for you. Sunstreaker, mate. How nice would Sunstreaker look in that getup? I think it'd be really cool. Especially with the, I don't know if his missile arms would work with those double fold-out guns, or if he could have like his proper Egyptian Sphinx style helmet with the visor and the little mic. But yeah, when you think about it, it's actually quite hard to think of another figure that would fit in seamlessly with that line.
You know what? You say that, but if we just move away from those toys and you look at like the Turbo Masters and those sort of toys, you look at those head sculpts and you're like, actually, those I think would suit these better than the sort of standard G1 cars. Yeah, Boss,
nice.
Flame, Scorch.
Hurricane, man.
Oh,
amazing.
Hurricane.
See, I'm now imagining, right, I said Bumblebee before, but I'm now imagining just bring over the Alternity Bumblebee toy and just slap a load of livery on that. Jobs are good. Do you know what I mean? Just the little...
Stick a big rear wing on it.
Yeah, exactly. Suzuki Swift with like Calsonic written down the side or whatever. I don't know. I think that would be great. Jobs are good.
Could you imagine, though, one of these decos in like that Turbo Master hot pink, those windows like that?
Well, yeah, and Thunderclash could be the team truck.
Oh, man.
Ooh, you're onto something there. That would be fun.
Is the only gold plastic is the trophies in the back.
Right.
Yeah.
Amazing. And they'd be painted.
What about Magnus? Ultra Magnus would be fun to see.
Oh, yeah. Good call. Good call.
That would be fun to see. That would be quite a distinctive head sculpt, just to see what they do with it. I mean,
white
I don't know.
and blue
I
as
guess
well would be beautiful on one of these.
Yeah, I guess I was just going to say you could either have it as a white version of, like a sort of white prime type version, or you could just, I don't know, get a bit of blue and everything in there as well and try and incorporate the trailer colours somehow. That would be fun.
They did have a test car for the series before all the liveries went on, and that was just been all black. I mean, I was amazed they didn't just do like a Nemesis Prime, because that was an existing livery and it could have just been an exclusive and would really have easily worked at a time when getting black repaints of Prime was definitely an established thing.
Yeah, and they'd done it in Alternity, so it's sort of it was a bit of a given, really, wasn't it? But it is such a shame they didn't do more, because I'm just looking at them now and they're so beautiful. And just the idea of having yellow one, when you said about a yellow colour scheme, I was like, oh man, I would love that to be a thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely love that to be a thing.
I'm just amazed I have a Transformer on my desk with Sega written on it. Like, how cool is that? That's just such a neat little thing.
I mean, I know we've talked about it earlier, but the livery and stuff is so cool. And one thing actually that I've never really kind of thought too much about, but I definitely do appreciate, is it's probably like most noticeable on Sabre actually, is the way that when the chest collapses, that the livery meets in the middle, you know, and you kind of cut a bit of the word out, which I think is super cool. So it goes from being Bridgestone across the front of the car to just being Brie on his chest. And then you've got Ridgestone at the back, just behind it, which is it's just kind of fun the way you get those sliding panels with livery kind of being cut in half and things. I think that's really it's very neat. I love it.
That really reminds me of when Make Toys Downbeat came out and they wanted to put repro labels on it to say Martini Porsche, but then, you know, the way that Downbeat transforms was quite similar, wasn't it? That its chest would collapse. So
yes, that's true.
I think that's the one I'm trying to think of. I've been racking my brains for ages trying to remember which sort of masterpiece style car was the one where the middle sort of moved and it shrunk, and it's that one. It's
Downbeat. Yeah, it's a good shout. It's Downbeat, but it was done here before it was done anywhere else. I think, wasn't it? That specific gimmick, that was a very unique thing at the time. Whereas now it's almost like it's expected, isn't it? People are like, the chest doesn't shrink. What?
Right. Yeah.
You know, but back then it was definitely a new thing for sure.
So I think we can all agree that this toy line, despite being a retool of an existing toy that was already repainted many times, was expensive, included a minifigure, and was just 4 of the same figure, you know, with different head sculpts, that there's actually a huge amount to appreciate once you've got one of these in hand. And I don't know a single person who finally splashed out on these and was not blown away. I don't remember anyone being disappointed with a purchase of this line.
No, 100%. I was thinking about it earlier when we were talking about, you know, their sort of place, if you like, and it occurred to me that the reason I think I moved them on initially was the exact same thing that I was saying before, was like rationalizing the collection and thinking, where do these fit? You know, they're not. It's not a cartoon lineup. You know, they don't sort of fit in terms of like completing a roster or anything like that. And I think I just had a bit of a mad moment of just like, you know, I can raise a bit of cash with these by moving them on, but I miss them so much. Do you know what I mean? And they're just fantastic. They are toys now. Having them back again, I, if anything, appreciate them more second time around, just for knowing, you know, the absence of them. But they're toys that I continuously go back to, even just picking them up, just in a rare moment of just like holding them.
Have a sniff.
Now. Yeah, having a good old sniff and really kind of get your nose in there.
You can dangle it from the mirror in your car, aren't you? It's like with a little air freshener.
Sure, yeah, maybe, no. But, no, just really kind of just picking them up and just appreciating them, just looking at them. And, you know, sometimes transforming them and everything as well. They're just a joy, just from start to finish. There's really nothing not to like about them.
And how much fun have you guys have photographing them?
Loads. I remember, like, when I found out you'd both sold them, it wasn't that long ago, because nobody talks about them, and they don't really come up. And they're toys I associate with you guys so strongly. I just assumed you still had them. And I remember, I think it was after that episode when I said something to Sixo, and he was like, oh, I haven't got them anymore. And you said the same. And it's like, when I think of these toys, it's like, with M.A.S, it's Sunstreaker, Jetfire, and then probably these toys, because I just remember those photos, looking at those photos you took, and those articles you wrote about them so many times.
Well, those articles didn't do particularly well, and, you know, not a lot of people read them, and I looked at the analytics on my own blog, because I did another article on my own blog, and I just stopped talking about them after a while, because it just became really clear that people didn't want to hear about them. They weren't that interested.
It was still real to me, damn it.
So we're gonna have great fun looking at the podcast stats over the next couple of weeks. Is that what you're saying?
It's just me listening to it over and over again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's been that many listens, and half of them are all Liam.
Oh yeah, because Liam listens to the episodes, doesn't he? We've
Oh yeah,
established
all
that,
the
haven't
time.
we?
Yeah. He regularly listens back to them. So, but yeah, no, I agree. I need to take more pictures of them soon. I'm thinking that maybe a little video might be a fun.
They deserve
fun
it, don't
prospect to
they?
do.
It's,
Yes, definitely. Video needs to be on your list of things to do.
Yeah. I've got nothing else to do.
They really are so underserved
Got
by
nothing.
everything.
Yeah. Did you say you've got nothing else to do? Yeah, it'll keep you off the streets, mate.
Yeah, indeed. I'm just sat around, just chatting to the cat. Otherwise, that's it. So better get on with that.
But ever since the butler quit, yeah. That's all for our discussion on Transformers GT. Hope very much that we've been able to raise some awareness for what is one of the most underrated Transformers projects and lines of the past 2 decades, in our opinions. And don't all rush out to buy them at once. I still need to rebuy them, so please keep me in mind. And over to Sixo.
Well, of course, it remains to say another little note about our Patreon. I know we bigged it up at the beginning there, but if you haven't checked it out yet, then please do, because there is a lot more content on there than just this, sort of regular episode that we do every 2 weeks. So you can get access at our top tier to plenty of exclusive minisodes. We're up to, how many of them have we done now? 6 or 7? I can't
6
even
now.
remember.
Yeah.
6, isn't it? Yeah. Soon to be 7. There you go, next week. And we're pumping out new ones all the time. So if you sign up today, you get access to all those 6 episodes. So that's like a whole boatload of extra content just right off the bat from today that you could be getting if you're not already sick of hearing us talk. But there is other stuff on there as well. So you do also get early access to episodes. So you might be listening to this episode via early access if you're on Patreon. It goes out sort of like half a week early or whatever. But there's also deleted stuff on there and, access to voting for things and our love and attention. How's that? You just get a lot of that as well. And big thanks.
And a beautiful thank you from us.
Yes.
Yeah,
indeed.
That's a good point. So anyone in the Sixo's Butler tier gets a shout out on the pod. And so again, this time without the beat from the last episode, we want to say thank you to Nick, Jonathan False Logic Howard, Dean Watts, Danny Roberts, Chris C137, Andy, Cannon, Preston, Brian Fox, Chris, Billy Ho, Spider Father, Adam Shoemaker, Zachary Blader, Timu Toivonen, Mike S, Matt, Stephen Perkins, Bad Saturday, Justin Masaru, Dave Dalrymple, and Snowcrack. And we want to thank our sponsor too, TF Source, for sponsoring the podcast. Again, please do check out tfsource.com for all of your Transformers and third-party needs. And I do want to reiterate that I had a wonderful time collecting all of these Transformers GT toys, one after the other from TF Source. Really good memories of that. So please do check them out.
And if you've got any money left over after you've checked out TF Source, then maybe have a look at our Redbubble as well, plug. Because again, you can get leggings on there, socks, coasters, mugs, there's clocks, all kinds of clobber with 3T logos and everything else. And probably we're going to stick up, what was it you said earlier?
GT Phone Home.
GT Phone Home. There you go. We'll get working on that one before too long.
We're moving into telecoms. Is that what?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's as Maz said earlier at the beginning of the episode. That's at no, not Patreon. What am I on about? That's at redbubble.com/people/triple takeover. So check that out.
Yeah, and do remember to go into the designs to see all the items they're available on, because it's not always immediately obvious what kind of items you can get it on. And please do follow us on social media. If there's anything you want to mention about the Transformers GT line, believe me, we'd actually really love to hear your thoughts on it, because there's just not enough appreciation for it. So if you've got, the feels for this line, we want to hear from you. You can find us on social media on Instagram at @triple_takeover. And we are also at @triple_takeover on Twitter. And on Facebook, we are at Triple Takeover. And we have a new dedicated YouTube channel as well. The link you can find on all of those social media channels. And Sixo, where can our followers find you?
I'm on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at SixoTF.
Liam?
I am on all of those things other than YouTube at Toybox Soapbox. And follow me at the minute if you want to get excited about the Halloween episode of Triple Takeover. That's coming up next.
And you can follow me at TFsquareone on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. So as the checkered flag waves on Transformers GT, the victory burnouts and donuts can begin. We hope you've enjoyed this trip down memory pit lane, because as they say in motorsport, you're only as good as your last race.
I like crunchy biscuits.